about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So Catherine O'Hara left us last week at the age of 71. We still are unclear about her medical conditions, but one medical condition she had opened up about, which is interesting, and we don't necessarily know if this contributed to her death, but she had a condition called dextrocardia. Now, dextrocardia is where rather than the heart leaning more towards the left, it's flipped and leans more towards the right. And the chambers are flipped. It's a symmetrical flip of the organ. And dextrocardia can sometimes come with a condition called situs inversus, where your organs that are supposed to be on the left versus the right are flipped. Now, it's very rare. It can happen anywhere between 1 in 8,000 to 1 in 20,000 births. And for some people, it might not cause any problems at all. And for some people, it could, unfortunately, cause a lot of health issues. Dextrocardia, along with situs inversus, seems to be a little less severe than those where, for some reason, the heart and the chambers are flipped. And they could have congenital heart defects, respiratory issues. We don't know exactly why that happens, where 1 in, let's just say on average, 10,000 births or 15,000 births, the organs are flipped. In embryonic development, the genes are supposed to decide, as well as some ciliary flow, little cilia of where things are supposed to go left and right, and there's supposed to be a predictable pattern. But I did look it up. There are some gene mutations that could sometimes cause there to be a flip, like NODAL nodal or PIT-X2 could disrupt the left to right asymmetry pathway of the embryo where things are put. Ciliary dysfunction. These are little tiny cilia on cells in the embryo. They beat in a specific direction, creates a leftward flow, signaling proper organ placement. But if they don't, things can be flipped. There's mutated genes and primary ciliary dyskinesia, where the cilia don't work properly. They may also have respiratory issues. But what's significant about situs inversus or dextrocardia is where the heart is flipped. The situs inversus is where all the organs are on the opposite of what we would expect. It's very concerning where you as a patient start to have some pain in the lower abdomen and you'll call up telemedicine. Now, I'm always looking for situs inversus. After having one patient with it, I have to rule it out on every patient. I just do. I don't want to be the one to miss it. And you call up going, yeah, I got lower abdominal pain. And, the doctor's going to ask, where, do you still have your appendix? Oh, it's not my appendix because the pain's on my left. Okay. True. Most appendixes, the pain is on the right. Yes, if it's, perforated, the pain may refer. Now, there could be, but okay, most appendixes are on the right. Well, so it's got to be diverticulitis or an ovarian cyst, but it's not my appendix. I don't have to go to the hospital because the pain's on the left. What if you're wrong? What if it is appendicitis? Now, we can very easily rule out situs inversus by examining your heart, examining your organs. We could feel where your liver is. We could tell if your organs are flipped even without imaging. But unfortunately, we can't do that over the telephone. I mean, we'd have to do an exam. And so whenever somebody says, I have lower abdominal pain, but it's on the left, I still recommend an exam. In fact, we used to always do a scan to rule out diverticulitis, which is inflammation of the colon. Because one is, even though, yes, we could probably, just like with appendicitis, diagnose it without a scan, we need to know that you don't have organs flipped. It's rare. It's very, very rare. But there are, unfortunately, like Catherine O'Hara, apparently she had, I think, a routine exam done. And when the doctor did an EKG, because the leads are put along the left, you have your V1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. the heart looked differently. And so when they moved the leads, they were able to, and so they were able to identify, wow, you have dextrocardia. And for most people, dextrocardia, they're fine unless they just have isolated dextrocardia and they have congenital heart issues, et cetera. So we aren't saying that Catherine O'Hara had, that issue. I know people are like, well, gosh, she yelled a lot in her movies. Kevin, did that? No, we think she was fine. It's always frustrating and scary when, your celebrities that you've grown up with, are gone. You want to know what happened. She looked pretty gaunt in her last few public appearances. Did she have cancer? This is, by the way, something that is really bothering me. I'm seeing a lot of celebrities look very gaunt. And the first thing everybody is assuming is they're on Ozempic. And I'm like, are you sure it's Ozempic and not cancer? Are you? I mean, I'm seeing all these gaunt celebrities, and I'm a little nervous that nobody's ruling out, muscle wasting disease or cancer or something else. Because gosh, these people are looking pretty gaunt. And I saw a picture of George Clooney a few months ago, and I almost didn't recognize him. As I know, that's some old man. They go, no, that's George Clooney. Like, he doesn't look well. I mean, is it Ozempic or is there something else going on? I don't know. But, for those of you who have family members that are losing a lot of weight, don't just assume it's Ozempic. But, dextrocardia, does not necessarily have to be something dangerous. But unfortunately, some people with it could have, cyanosis, where they seem to look blue. They could have rapid breathing. They could have chronic fatigue, poor exercise tolerance. If their heart chambers are not built or developed as a way as they need to be. Some people, dextrocardia, it's a perfectly good heart, just flipped. That's it. But there could be that fatigue. Some infants might not thrive that well, failure to thrive. There could be intestinal issues if you have your organs twisted with or flipped with situs inversus, etc. But don't assume your organs are exactly anatomical if nobody's ever imaged you or examined you. So if you do have left-sided abdominal pain, if you have right-sided chest pain, don't just say it's not a heart attack because it's on the right. You could have dextrocardia because dextrocardia patients will have right-sided chest pain during a heart attack in some cases. Always get yourself checked out. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Hey guys, it's Dr. Dahlia. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our awesome producer. And big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at X or Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So it's Super Bowl Sunday coming up. Super Bowl is one of my favorite holidays. After Christmas and Hanukkah, Super Bowl comes next. I even like Super Bowl even more than Halloween. And I love Halloween, but Super Bowl is just one of my favorite holidays. And for those of you that are hosting Super Bowl parties, I got you. I understand how difficult it is. Hosting a Super Bowl party, not for the weak, not for the timid. Super Bowl parties are not easy. We stopped hosting Super Bowl parties because this is what we kept running into. With Super Bowl parties, every time I wanted to host one, you have your guest list and the groups of people that you want to have. Unless you organize it months in advance, the people you're expecting that you're buying for and that are going to come, they already have all these different Super Bowl parties to go to. And so you get told, okay, we have a Super Bowl party, come over. And I'm like, but I was going to host Super Bowl. They're like, we already have a party. And so me and Fred, they're like, well, we're already having a party. So whoever organizes the party first, and so if you can't hold a Super Bowl party and then not have people come. And then also, if you are hosting that Super Bowl party, it's not like a Christmas party or a Halloween party where you think, well, I just have to get the decorations down. Decorations are easy for the Super Bowl party. Just have some, I mean, if you're going to be a Patriots or a Pats party, or if you're going to be a Seahawks party, yeah, you might have to have the colors down. Although, honestly, you could just have blue because both sides have blue in it if you want to play it safe. But there's more to it. The Super Bowl party is a little bit longer than some of the other parties. And so you need to have more food than expected. It's interesting. I was looking up the average cost of a Super Bowl party. This shows you how AI doesn't know what they're talking about. Google AI says hosting a Super Bowl party in 2026 is expected to cost anywhere from $140 to $167 on average for food or drinks for 10 people. Then they decide to say, and look at the range of the most expensive to not. I know some of you are like 140 to 167. That's just for beer. That won't even barely cover everything, if that. So they say it'll cost for 10 people 140 to 167, or $14 to $16 a person. They say, based on location, Seattle, Washington will be the most expensive, costing $40 a person. Green Bay, Wisconsin will be the most affordable at $26.24 per guest. So this shows you what AI, their shortcomings. If they're saying Green Bay at $26.24 is the cheapest, and they just said for 10 people, $160 for 10 people in Green Bay, you're already at $260. You see, you can't trust AI yet. All right, AI is not there. So beef prices are up, shrimp prices are up. A lot of people have shrimp cocktail. Beer, they say for 10 people costs an average of $66. Not the people I know. I mean, they drink. And so if you are hosting a Super Bowl party, Super Bowl is at least 3 hours. Not to mention, you need to have food and alcohol before the party and food and alcohol after. You might need to tell everybody, look, I got to get up early on Monday. So after the party, get the hell out, because otherwise people are like, where's dinner? But that's a long amount of time to feed people. Like I said, this isn't for the week. So for those of you hosting, I mean, you put a lot of money into it. I've never minded because I always have extra alcohol and all that. The big part for me of hosting is whoever I wanted to be there wasn't going to be there. They were already having their own parties. And so for me, I want to spend Super Bowl with the people I want to spend Super Bowl with. The other issue that you have when you host Super Bowl is everybody seems to find out. And so if you have clusters of friends and you invite one cluster or a second cluster, But you completely forget the third or fourth cluster, they find out. Like, you had a Super Bowl party and you didn't invite me? And you're like, well, I wanted to invite you, but I only have one TV. So we used to have a second TV. So we could have a TV outside and a TV. In fact, when we built our home, we didn't build it. I mean, it was already kind of designed. But when we helped design it, it was Super Bowl in mind. We're like, good, we have a TV out here. We have we had a TV outside. It got ruined. So now we don't have a TV outside. So we only have one TV. Well, we have a TV with a couch that can maybe fit 8 people. You could throw some chairs. Our house is not now Super Bowl friendly. And every time we've posted Super Bowl, we've had to have multiple TVs and people in multiple rooms. Well, I want everyone to kind of be together. So we actually haven't hosted Super Bowl in a while. And so we'll go to people's houses because we have good friends that have Super Bowl parties. And so, we want to be with friends and family. And I like it. I like it, like that. We're going to a great party this weekend, so we're really excited about that. But gosh, I mean, the work that this person has to put into it, you can't underestimate how much work that's going to be. So one is it's going to be a lot of money, right? A lot of beer, a lot of food. Another thing that's not for the weak is your supervision of people drinking. The issue with Super Bowl is all those alcohol guidelines that have now been changed, right, recently, where you can't have more than 4 drinks in a 2-hour period, or people are just going through. I mean, when you're watching the game and you're yelling at the TV, and then you're watching the Super Bowl or yelling at Bad Bunny or whatever you're doing the Super Bowl. You keep getting up to get a drink. You keep getting up to get a beer. You get a beer. And so you have people there that are taking in 4 or 5 drinks. Also, you have people that decide to do shots. And, anytime, like there's all these side prop bets. So whether it's through the sports book or not, many people are going to say, okay, how many times are the sportscasters going to bring up Tom Brady? And over 3, under 3, Tom Brady's going to be at the Super Bowl. So Tom Brady's going to be brought up at least once or twice. Trump is going to be there. So people are doing these side bets, or they're going to do shots every time somebody mentions Tom Brady, or they mention the Chiefs. I know there's going to be a prop bet on how many times people mention Mahomes. Mahomes is not in the Super Bowl. Mahomes is recovering from his surgery, but somebody's going to be bringing it up. So there's going to be some. So people will sometimes use those for drinking games. Somebody's going to mention ice. How many times is Bad Bunny going to bring up ice in his performance? And so people will use these as prop bets or drinking games. And so you're operating this Super Bowl party, and you're going, okay, wait a second. I got to make sure nobody drives home drunk. One of the most dangerous times of year is, New Year's Eve, but also right after Super Bowl. Now, what makes Super Bowl a little less dangerous than New Year's Eve is in some areas it's still daylight. Most areas, no. It's going to be dark because of the daylight, the standard time. But with Super Bowl, most people still have food in their stomach. As opposed to New Year's Eve, people can't afford the food on New Year's. So all they do is drink, and then they're more drunk. But keep in mind, you don't want to be driving around after Super Bowl. And so if you're running the Super Bowl party, you're like, well, wait a second, do I have to make sure there's designated drivers? So operating a Super Bowl party is not easy. It's expensive, a lot of liability. Be careful. Not easy. So let's say you're going to a Super Bowl party. What should you do? What should you bring? Now, when you always ask the host, they don't want to look tacky. They don't want to say, bring something, whatever. I'm going to tell you right now, bring something that costs them a lot of money. So if you like drinking beer and you're going to be drinking most of their beers, I would bring extra. They'll appreciate it. Bring ice. We always run out of ice at Super Bowl parties. Or bring a gift. Say, look, you're going to be exhausted after this. All right? So, here. Or I'm going to clean up. Clean up after the Super Bowl party because, oh my gosh, what people do with the couches and the dirt, cleaning up after a Super Bowl party is a disaster. Or say, look, I'll be designated driver. That's one of the biggest gifts you could be. And say, look, but what I would do if I was hosting the Super Bowl party is tell people to Uber, tell people to not drive, because they're going to drink a lot. This is going to be an exciting game. I will give you guys my predictions. I'm waiting for the NFL injury report. I always give you guys my predictions. I've been 80+% correct. Little bit of an issue with last year's game with the Eagles. That was a surprise. I'm glad the Eagles won, but my medical calculations did not predict that. So that was something that was an off. But, I could have an off year. That's okay. So I will give you my predictions as it pertains to the Seahawks and the Patriots. But, bring something that they could use. Bring something that'll save them money or offer your services for driving and cleanup. The 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regenerations. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, Fine Farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So we do have some breaking news. Ryan Ruth has been sentenced to life for attempting to assassinate President Trump. If you remember, in the fall of 2024, Ryan Wesley Ruth, 59 years old, was found guilty of attempting to assassinate Trump at one of his golf courses in West Palm Beach in the fall of 2024. While President Trump was playing golf, this guy had set up behind some fences and bushes, and thank God a Secret Service agent spotted him, shot at him, chased him off, was able to catch him, and a federal jury on September 23rd found Roth guilty of trying to kill presidential nominee Trump at the Trump International Golf Club. Prosecutors had sought a life sentence for Ruth. Ruth was originally from North Carolina. His attorney suggested a 27-year sentence would be punishment enough because no one got hurt in the melee. No, you tried to kill somebody. The incident took place on September 15th, 2024. This was just months after President Trump dodged a bullet in Butler, Pennsylvania. Jurors convicted Ruth of attempted assassination, which carries a maximum life sentence by itself, according to USA Today. And then, hold on one second, I apologize. And then also assaulting a federal officer and several other firearm offenses. Prosecutors described the assassination attempt as narrowly averted. Ruth suggested his actions were just a peaceful protest. Really? Hidden in bushes? Hidden in a fence with weapons? That did not look like really First Amendment rights. Yeah, look, I'm sorry. Look, I understand that law is an art. And I appreciate the art that is within law. But saying that somebody is practicing their First Amendment rights and doing peaceful protest when they are aiming an armed weapon at somebody? No. During the trial, the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida, Ruth told jurors he was incapable of pulling the trigger and had been guilty of, quote, caring too much. He was caring too much for the situation. Yeah. With a weapon. According to Ruth, he said to merely have a weapon in the presence of another is not intent. Now, he ends up firing his attorney's head of the trial, ends up representing himself. And then this guy tries to stab himself in the neck with a pen after the conviction. Ruth had asked U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon for a just punishment, did not want to be in prison for life. Well, I think he needs to be. This guy is not somebody I think fit for society. And so life in prison. You know, we still have a lot of questions as to what happened in terms of the, Butler, Pennsylvania shooting. We understand that initially the investigation was taken on by the Biden administration, but Trump has been in office now for a while. Obviously, it was his assassination attempt, then an attempt on him. And we still don't have a lot of details. Michael Thomas Crooks, 20 years old, in Butler, Pennsylvania, who, from what we understand, had no military experience, not much of a history of anything, able to avoid Secret Service, avoid law enforcement, bear crawl across an abandoned building and rooftop and aim at our president before he gets shot. A lot of questions about this. And unfortunately, he kills one of the attendees, shoots others. And we still don't have a lot of information as to what happened and why. I know people have been asking Kash Patel, and he says they have been, releasing information and whatever, but we don't know much. I mean, the gunman had cell phones. I mean, how did he learn how to do that? How did he? This is still pretty unsettling. And again, it's really kind of confusing because, the current FBI, is now under the Trump administration. You'd think that they would be obviously more vocal about it and more aggressive about figuring out what happened. But the kid is dead. This punk who somehow knew how to evade Secret Service. We also want to know how the hell did they evade Secret Service? I mean, this was Secret Service. How did this happen? The building had a clear sight line to the stage. Why wasn't that building monitored? Why wasn't that building guarded? The president was only 157 yards away. He gets himself up there, is able to boost himself up onto a roof, able to fire 8 shots with an AR-style rifle. Secret Service's investigation, according to PBS, said that it wasn't that the line of sight risks weren't known ahead of time. They said multiple personnel assessed them as, quote unquote, acceptable. Supervisors had expected large pieces of farm equipment would be situated to block the view of the building, but those ultimately weren't placed. Farm equipment. Staffers who visited the site before the rally did not tell the supervisors that the line of sight concerns hadn't been addressed. There also was apparently fragmented communications between Secret Service and local law enforcement. They say instead of having one unified command post with representatives from every agency providing security in the same room, there were 2 command posts at the rally. One investigation described a chaotic mixture of radio, cell phone, text, and email to communicate that day. Email. So the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs did report earlier this year that there were multiple unacceptable failures in the planning and execution of the July 13th Butler rally. And the committee found that the agency denied multiple requests for additional staff, assets, and resources to protect President Trump during the presidential campaign. The committee said that included at least 2 requests for the Butler rally. The agency's former director, Kim Cheadle, last year told a House panel before she resigned that the agency didn't deny any requests for the rally. She said, for the Butler rally, I actually did direct additional assets to be provided, particularly in the form of agency counter snipers. Now, I'm glad they caught the Thomas Brooks, but if she did allocate adequate resources, then how did this kid get to the point where he was able to shoot? Apparently, she didn't allocate enough. Another report by the Government Accountability Office requested by Republican Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley criticized the agency's practices for sharing threat information. That report said senior level agency officials knew of a specific threat to Trump in the days leading up to the rally. They said it wasn't specific to the rally, but it wasn't shared with the agents or local law enforcement planning for it. So if you know of an attempt or a threat on the president's life, and you're days before, minutes before, you share that information. But still, what we want to know is, who was this kid? 20 years old. And this is the same Secret Service that was supposed to be protecting President Biden. Kamala Harris. J.D. Vance. How do we know that the Secret Service is going to be adequate? People need to, not fear running for office. This is America. You need to be able to run for office and not fear for your life. But there is no way this kid worked alone. There's no way this kid knew, how to navigate, how to evade Secret Service. Now, I'm not saying it was an inside job, but there has got to be some paper trail. But we're not hearing about it. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99-799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99-799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99-799. Again, FREE to 99-799.
Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOCDALI. So this article caught my eye from the Telegraph, saying the Pentagon is warning the Boy Scouts, saying ban girls or we will pull your funding. Now, this is you see the headlines. Okay, really? Okay, I mean, we have an administration that has been so pro-woman, pro-girls, protecting them in sports. Okay, I sincerely doubt that now they are anti-girls. However, when it comes to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, I'm really mixed because I did brownies and Girl Scouts. I thought the concept was promising, but I didn't have a good time in it at all. I wanted to hang out with the boys. I wanted to do what the boys were doing. I was in Girl Scouts in the 70s and 80s. And so the girls had to do the cookies, had to learn how to weave, sew, homemaker type stuff. I wanted to learn how to start a fire. I wanted to camp. I wanted to fish. I wanted to do that stuff. But only the boys could do that. And so I support there being avenues where if girls wanted to fish and hunt and start fires and camp and things like that, that they get that access too. However, I also understand as a parent and as a clinician that some kids need the boy time and the girl time. And so with Boy Scouts, the boys going, doing their thing, camping, etc., why do we separate the girls from the boys? Well, in the olden days, it was because, well, the girls don't need to learn that. But nowadays, it's because of, well, liability. All right, if a boy and a girl start to kind of hook up in a tent, right, somebody's getting sued. And so the boys, if they're doing guy things, will not necessarily get distracted. I mean, they could be distracted by other boys, but you don't have the, okay, well, a girl needs to change. She feels like they're, lifting up her skirt, things like that, or vice versa. There kind of gives those kids that private time. So what this article is saying is that the Pentagon has suggested that it will cancel its partnership with the Scouts unless the group bans girls from joining and scraps its gender-neutral stance. This is according to the Telegraph. They say Scouting America has been urged to implement reforms that they return it to its core value. Sean Parnell, the Defense Department spokesman, said for more than a decade now, Scouting America's leadership has made decisions that run counter to the values of this administration and this Department of War, including an embrace of DEI and other social justice, gender fluid, ideological stances. He says this is unacceptable. He said that the U.S. Department of Defense's review of its financial assistance and partnership with Scouting America was rigorous and ongoing. Mr. Parnell added that the organizations were near a final agreement where we believe we could continue our partnership as long as the organization rapidly implements the common sense core value reforms. They are on the clock and we are watching. So the demands of the unofficially the demands they're saying, right, are not necessarily public. This is what this media outlet is but they are surmising that it has to do with boys and girls mixed in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, etc. And I didn't know that the Boy Scouts or the Scouts of America ended up getting money from the government. I didn't know that. See, that's the thing. If you get money from the government, then the government is going to have its say. If you don't want the government's recommendations, then you don't rely on government money. That's so. But I though really support if your husband wants to hang out with the guys. Let them have some guy time. If your wife wants to hang out with the ladies, let them have that time. Now, for me and my husband, most of my friends are guys. And so luckily my husband is very supportive of me going to lunch with, some of my friends from school and things like that. He knows nothing's, he trusts me, etc. But it's really important for people to be able to nurture and have those friendships that they grew up with, or that they have, it's really important, for their own personal growth. And I know people are like, oh, well, somebody could cheat. Well, yeah, I get that if you're, if your wife meets a brand new guy or your husband meets a brand new girl and all of a sudden they're hanging out, I understand how that could be suspicious. I get that. But for the most part, I told my husband for years early on when I was in residency and working a lot, I'm like, go hang out with the guys, because my residency moved us to Las Vegas. I had, so he got, he got harvested from, all his friends in California and got moved over, plucked over to Nevada. I'm like, hang out with the guys, do a guy trip. I want you to be able to still have that part of your life. He's like, but then I feel guilty because I'm not with you. I'm like, but I'm working 36-hour shifts. I'm sleeping when I come home. You need some guy time. And I do think that's very important for people, whether you're an adult or a kid, to have that, camaraderie, have that, and I understand now we're in a day and age where people say, well, I don't feel like other kids, so I don't, feel like I'm a part of them and having that unity, but boys hanging out with boys and girls hanging out with girls for part, of their childhood isn't necessarily a bad thing. My problem with the Scouts was when I went, the girls were, not getting to do the cool guy stuff. But if you have girls going camping and getting to do some of the stuff the guy stuff do, and the den dads with the girls, I think that's totally fine. And I think there's an advantage for girls to be around other girls, for Catholics to be around other Catholics, for Jews to be around other girls. I really think that that's why we have groups and clubs where there are some shall we say hobbies that people share. I don't think you should be completely isolated, but if you want to spend some time being with people in your group, I think there's advantages to that. And I learned a lot being around other women. In fact, I learned so much that I didn't really want to be around other girls, right? I didn't like the cattiness. They were mean, these other Girl Scouts. I want to hang out with the boys, but it's how you learn, and you learn how to navigate groups, and you learn how to, and I've gotten really, really good, being around women. I when I was younger, no, I wasn't. Girls were so mean to me. Boys were too, but especially the girls. But now I've learned, I understand, the egos. And so there's benefits to being in co-ed, being, with your sex, with your, and so, if a bunch of boys want to go with their dads, and do some dude stuff. And I understand we're not stereotyping that, because girls should be able to do dude stuff too. But if there's a boys trip, I think a boys trip is absolutely fine. If there's a girls trip, I think that's absolutely fine. If moms and the girls want to talk about things, dads and the girls want to hang out with dads. That's one thing that people don't understand. Everybody thinks that the girls want to hang out with their moms. No, a lot of girls would rather hang out with their dads. But do we need mom time? Absolutely. Do we need sister time? Do we need girl, sisterhood type stuff? I think we do. Do guys need brotherhood type stuff? Yeah, I think they do. Doesn't have to be all the time, but having that option is very helpful. And on top of that, if there's issues, like when you look at the front line, if you have, Navy SEALs, and if you have, if you have people, in our boots on the ground saying, look, there's issues if there's somebody accidentally hitting somebody's boob, or somebody, feeling that they're getting harassed, or, we have to kind of take into account, do some people work better when they don't have the co-ed situation? So I'm mixed on the whole Scouts thing, but I do think that people should allow boys and girls to have group time with their sex. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.